Starting your day off with a take on Vegas you won't get anywhere else.
Hi, I'm Holly Madison, and I listen to Brian Shapiro.
Hi, this is William Shatner, and I listen to Brian Shapiro.
Hey, this is Larry the Cable Guy, and I listen to Brian Shapiro. Why? Because I'm a good American. So is he. And if you don't listen to him, you need to pack up and leave this country.
This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro.
Come on, guys!
Oh, yeah, what's up, Vegas? It is hump day, and it is Vegas Take time. Sharp and Shapiro. So glad you could join us. A very, very busy news day on a Wednesday. A lot to get to, and yes, I did say it is Wednesday, right? That means we do get in the ring with Michael Avenatti. He will be joining us in hour number 2. A lot to get to with him. Michael's been very active on Twitter today. I know he's got a lot of opinions, so we'll get to them coming up in hour number 2. As I mentioned, oh, my God, this ridiculous Alex Acosta press conference. I promise you we are going to get to that coming up here in a little bit. Just made himself look like a complete clown and doubled down on his corrupt stupidity, whatever you want to call it. We will get to that. I'm telling you, this guy is not going to make it. He's not going to last. I'll be shocked if he still has his job in a week. I thought I was going to be shocked if he still had his job in a few days. But anyway, we're going to get to this ridiculous press conference coming up in a little bit. But, okay, JD, I want to ask you a question. How are you doing, by the way?
I'm doing all right.
Sorry to disturb you.
I'm doing fine.
Sorry to disturb you. Is everything okay? I don't know.
Everything is hunky and dory.
You're very busy on your phone there. I don't want to distract you.
I'm fine.
Are you doing all right? Okay.
I'm ready to rock.
Maybe you were looking up.
I'm ready to rock and talk.
Rock and talk. Okay. Well, I'm glad to hear you say that. Well, I want to ask you a question, then I'm going to answer it honestly myself as well. Did you know who Megan Rapinoe was before a month ago?
I did not, and I'm actually pretty happy that I did not.
Well, the honest answer for me, I'm with you. I didn't know who she was. Obviously, she, star player on the U.S. women's soccer team, just won the World Cup, so congratulations to them. Now, the reason why I didn't know who she was, the same reason why I couldn't name you one player on the U.S. men's soccer team. I'm just not a soccer fan. All due respect, I'm just not a soccer fan. That's the only reason why.
Yeah, I'm just not a fan of people who are trying to literally convince Americans to stop being patriotic.
Well, I don't think she's trying to we can get into that. I don't think she's trying to convince Americans. Why do you say that? Why would you say that? She's trying to convince Americans to stop being patriotic. I don't think she's doing that.
Have you watched her interviews?
Well, I was going to give my take on, she was on Anderson Cooper last night, and I do disagree with her on some things. Here's, and if you're unaware, they just won the World Cup, right? And she said she wouldn't.
Congrats on that.
Yes.
Well done.
She said she wasn't going to, quote, effing go to the White House, and we'll get to that. She's trying to, she wants equal pay for women, and I think in certain situations she's right, and in certain situations she is dead wrong. But here's my biggest issue with her. It's not because she likes women. I don't care about that. Has nothing to do with the fact that she, her politics. Nothing to do with that. If she, she goes on Anderson Cooper last night, and she's made the rounds, she's done interviews, and she deserves to. Look, she won the World Cup. She deserves to get this attention, and she's a very outspoken woman. Don't have a problem with that. She said she would never visit Donald Trump in the White House, and I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I think a lot of these teams, even if you dislike the president, even hate the president, I still think you should go to the White House because it really doesn't have anything to do with Donald Trump, in my opinion. It has to do with going to the White House, being honored, even if you dislike the president. So I don't agree with these athletes deciding not to go to the White House, even though it is their decision, and they have the right to do that. With that being said, on Anderson Cooper last night, she gives a shout-out to Ocasio-Cortez, and she says she'll go to D.C. to have a substantive conversation with anyone who believes the same things that she believes in. Now, there's something wrong with that. Leaves a bad taste in my mouth. There's something wrong with that because I think you want to have debates with people for the reason of trying to get to some sort of common ground. What's the point of having conversations with people in D.C. that already agree with what you believe in, right? Having conversations with people who believe the same things you believe in is easy, right? Doesn't really make a difference. But how about dialogue with people who disagree with you? Find some common ground. Maybe change hearts and minds. I mean, isn't that the whole point of this thing, right? That's what I think it is. I think, sitting down with somebody like Donald Trump, even if you hate the man and dislike the man, I would love, forget about radio. I would love to sit down and talk to him and tell him why I dislike him. I think she is missing out on a grand opportunity because, I wonder if she reached out to Donald Trump right now personally and said, look, my team is not going to go to the White House, but I want to sit with you for a good solid 30 minutes to an hour and talk to you about the issues and the reasons why we want equal pay for women, or we think you're discluding us because we're gay, and that sort of stuff. So I think she's doing a disservice by doing that. And I've said that about teams that haven't gone to the White House before, because I think you're missing out on an opportunity where if you disagree with the president, even if you think the president is a racist, even if you think the president is a horrific human being, you're still, in my opinion, missing out on an opportunity. So she's doing all these interviews now, and that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. But what good are we getting at, right? What good if we can't sit down with people that we disagree with and maybe try to reach some common ground? See, to me, that's the whole problem with politics today. We have people on the left, we have people on the right, and many of those people will not listen to one another. They just won't listen. Megan Rapinoe will probably never get this opportunity again. Well, I shouldn't say that. If she wins the gold medal in the Olympics, she probably still will. She'll still be in the news. But this is her moment, right? This is her time to make a difference. And maybe she is making a difference. Now, in regards to women's equal pay, I think she's a little off on this issue. And I'll use the WNBA as a perfect example. Look, I don't know how much the women's soccer team has made. I don't know how much the men's soccer team has made. So I'm not going to comment on that. Here's what I do know. Women in the office place, if women are doing the exact same job that the men are doing and they're making the exact same amount of money, absolutely they should get equal pay. I am all on board for that, but here's where the issue is. Here's where my issue is, and it starts with, let me just, and then I'll get your take on this, JD. I want the WNBA, right. Okay? The WNBA is a perfect example of why Megan Rapinoe is dead wrong. The WNBA loses money every year. It is a losing business. That's what it is, folks. We're talking about business. We're talking about money.
I do think it's growing, and the differential is huge. It's almost 250 to 1. The highest paid player in the NBA makes about almost 300 times as much as the highest paid player.
And so you understand why I'm bringing that up.
I understand that.
She's
makes
wrong. You cannot say,
that's
especially
just standard economics.
Especially,
there's nothing complicated about that.
Especially in sports,
of course. And with soccer. Soccer is the biggest sport in the world. It is the most watched sport in the world outside of cricket. Basketball is actually number 5. Football is number 4. Mm-hmm. And the women have a 13% share. Mm-hmm. The men have a 9% share. The problem is the market's just not big enough, Meg, and that's why you're not getting paid as much.
Exactly.
That's all there is to it. It's very simple, basic economics.
However.
There is no however to it. They already get a better deal.
No, in her defense, when it comes to business, when it comes to office jobs, when it comes to jobs that women can do just as well as men, maybe better. I agree with her. That needs to change. But when you're talking about sports, exclude maybe women's tennis. Because even though I think at the highest level the men are drawing more numbers, the women are doing really well. But they are getting paid a lot of money. I think if you make the quarterfinals of a major and you're a female, you're making $300,000 or $400,000. The money's pretty good. It's not bad. So I think she's wrong as a whole. And I think that's a problem. I think she's made a couple mistakes here. As far as this equal pay stuff, you just can't make that argument.
How about as far as everybody needs to do better? What are you doing when you're walking down the street to help your community? What is she doing? She's preaching all these things, but what is she actually doing herself?
Well, she's certainly getting the word out, and she thinks she's doing a lot. I don't know
She literally said today that homosexuals are better than heterosexuals.
Where did she say that? I didn't see that.
She stated that today.
When? Where?
On a couple of different publications.
She said that homosexuals are better.
Yes.
That was the quote?
Extremely over the top. Brian.
Okay, well, listen, I did not see that quote. If you can look that up and tell me exactly when and where she said that, that would be helpful to me. Because if she did say that, if you could look that up.
But if the money is there, it will be dispersed accordingly. It's just not there. That's all it comes down to. It is there for tennis.
We agree on that. If we're talking about the workplace as far as businesses and outside the realm of sports, then I completely agree with her. But this is about money. If the women are not making money for their franchise, then no, they're not going to get paid the same amount of money that, say, an NBA player gets paid. It's just completely ludicrous. So I think she's made a couple mistakes. That's one of them. I think the other mistake is I think she's missing out on an opportunity to maybe have some dialogue with the president. I would love to speak to the president. Are you kidding me? If I had her platform, there are so many things that I would want to address with the president that I disagree with him on. I want to open up the phone lines on this. I want to know what you guys think out there, because I truly believe that Megan Rapinoe is missing out on a huge opportunity to make a bigger difference than she thinks that she is making here. And I'll open up the phone lines at 702-257-5396. Again, that number to call if you want to be a part of the program. Maybe you agree with me. Maybe you disagree with me. I certainly think that Megan Rapinoe is missing out on a huge opportunity, as many of these athletes do when they do not go to the White House. Again, that number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation, 702-257-5396. And again, a reminder, we have Michael Avenatti that'll be joining us in hour number 2, and we absolutely will be getting to this Acosta press conference, which I thought was an absolute joke. Our labor secretary making himself look like a clown. Again, that number 257-5396. Why don't we lead off with Joe. Joe, thanks for calling in. Joe, what do you think about this?
Well, I tell you, Brian, I don't pay attention to the news. The only news I get is through you guys. Quite frankly, my opinion on this matter is, if those people, if they don't want to go to the White House, I have both hands up in the air. Please invite me.
Well, Joe, do you agree with me, though, that she's missing out on an opportunity here?
No, absolutely. Listen, as Americans, I've told you this before, we have to come together as Americans,
right?
Not as donkeys, not as elephants or sheep.
Right.
We have to come together as Americans. That's the only way we can solve the problems and address the issues that are there.
Joe, I couldn't agree with you more, my friend. Very well said. I appreciate you calling in. 257-5396. Let's go to Marvin. Marvin, what's going on?
Mr. Shapiro is a bleeping liar.
You have anything else you'd like to add to that, Marvin, or is it?
He hangs up on me before I can finish my bleeping sentence.
I'm letting you talk, Marvin.
That's not even true.
I'm not hanging up on you.
The last 3 times before we've asked you a question.
I'm not hanging up on you, Marvin. What do you have to say besides bleeping? What else would you like to say?
I'm excited. I'm energized.
Mr. Shapiro didn't hang up only because Mr. Sharp bleeping said not to.
Marvin, you're not funny. Like, why would you call into you're not even funny. Like, if you're going to prank us, why don't you've had all day
Marvin,
to think about this.
I would actually pay decent money to watch you do stand-up.
I wouldn't. Marvin, you're not funny. You've had all day to think about how you're going to prank call the Vegas take, and this is the best you could come up with? What do you do for a job? Do you even have a job?
Mr. Shapiro is getting bleeping angry.
You're the only person laughing. You're not funny.
I just laughed.
Oh, you did? Okay.
I just laughed.
So that's all you got for us, Marvin? Is this what you're going to do? You're just going to call in and this is what you're going to do? Thank you.
Somebody needs the blood pressure.
Okay. Thank you, Marvin. You're just absolutely you're absolutely hilarious.
This was
anyway,
brilliant.
let's get back to the
really good call.
Let's get back to the actual topic at hand, which is Megan Rapinoe. I think as I said, I think she's missing out on a grand opportunity to have a discussion with the president of the United States, and I think it sets a bad example that if you disagree with someone, even if you think like I said, even if you think the president is a racist, even if you think he's a horrible human being, if you disagree with someone politically or policy-wise, I think it sets a bad precedence and an example to younger people out there that if you disagree with someone, you just push them aside.
You know what? If someone disagrees with you, they're not guaranteed to be wrong. You could be wrong too. They don't hate you, and you don't have to go after their life and their wherewithal.
Yeah. Well, I think I truly believe Megan's making a mistake here. We're taking your calls at 257-5396, and let's go to David. David, thanks for calling in. What's on your mind?
Hey, Brian. Hey, JD. How you doing?
Doing good, man. What do you think about this?
Oh, no, I wasn't even going to call in tonight, but you said, Brian, you said exactly what I was thinking when I read that story.
Mm-hmm.
I will listen to you as long as you agree with me. Well, what's the point? You
Right.
and I call in here a few times, and you and I talk, and we often disagree, but then we agree.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a great point, because right now I completely agree with you.
Yeah.
What's the point of talking to somebody only people you agree with?
Well, that's a good point, Dave. First of all, let me just say this. If I had to do a radio show every day with JD and all the callers agreed with me and JD agreed with me on everything, I would shoot myself, okay? That's not the kind.
What's the point?
Yeah, it's ridiculous, number one.
By the way, there are people who do that.
Well, I'm not one of those people, and I actually prefer people calling in that disagree with me because I like a good debate. But you see what I'm saying here, David? Rapinoe has such an amazing opportunity that 99.9% of people in this country do not have. You have a chance to meet someone that you disagree with. He's the most powerful man in the world, regardless of whether you like him or not. I'm not going to deny that. I can't stand the guy. But you know what? If I had a chance to do what she is thinking, I would want to talk to him about these issues. I would want to talk about Gay Pride Day. I want to talk about homosexuality with him. I would want to talk about his vice president, Mike Pence. I would want to talk about equal pay for women. But when she goes on these networks and she says, well, I'll go to Washington and I'll talk to people that only agree with me, I think it's ignorant. I really do.
Oh, no, I totally agree. She completely blew it.
Yeah.
And by the way, on the equal pay thing, I can easily solve that.
Yeah. How's that?
Cut the men's pay to what the women make.
In the NBA, you think that would go?
No, it won't go anywhere.
It's not going to happen.
You want equal pay for equal revenue.
That would be the end of professional athletics. That would be a bad thing. That would be a multi-trillion-dollar a year decision.
It will never work.
Yeah.
And that's why it's almost an irrelevant argument. Are you going to say, well, I play for the WNBA,
well, it's like
I need to...
It's like a place offering minimum wage with the minimum wage being raised to $15 an hour that only makes $200,000 a year. Just that the money isn't there, it can't go anywhere.
Right. And in revenue terms, the men did horribly, so they don't deserve.
But
the
David,
money.
I will say this in her defense, and as this segment started, I disagree with her on some very important issues here, but in the workplace, as far as business, as far as office jobs, regular pay, regular jobs, regular people, you have to admit that, yes, the pay for women is not the same as men, and that needs to change. You would agree with that, right?
I do agree with that, and I'm not immersed in that. So there are certain intangible variables to that, but for the most part, 99% absolutely.
All right.
But in terms of the sports thing, I mean, what are you going to do?
No, we're David, we are in complete agreement there, my friend, and I appreciate the call as always. Thank you for calling in. 257-5396 is the number to call. Let's go to Bill. Bill, what's going on?
Hey, Brian, JD, thanks so much. You have a great show.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
In regard to Megan, here's what I think. Number one, congratulations to the team. They have 4 years in a row been the winners.
Absolutely.
They've earned it, okay? I don't take that away from them. When a representative of the United States team conducts himself in a manner on the field regarding the flag, regarding the country, as far as I'm concerned, I don't care if she's the best person on that team. She's gone. She has no right to be on that team.
Honestly, I believe that Megan Rapinoe committed treason today. 100%.
Okay. All right. Now, let me take you to the next point.
I'm not kidding.
As far as the differentiation, as far as in the pay, goes to what the gross revenues are. The girls earned approximately $126 million in the year.
Right.
The men earned approximately $6 billion. They get 13%. That's their cut.
Yeah.
The women's cut is between 13 and 15%, depending on the bonus issue.
And if that is true, and I have no reason to believe it's not, then it is completely
That's almost
ridiculous.
60-1.
Yeah, it's completely ridiculous.
Where's
Bill.
the money coming from, Megan Rapinoe? Yeah. It's coming from nowhere.
No, I'm glad
it's coming from your pocket.
Bill, I'm glad you brought those. I'm glad you brought those figures up. Good call. And if those figures are correct, and I've heard those figures before, completely ridiculous and outrageous that they're asking for equal pay when you look at how much money the men's team has made. It's completely ridiculous.
Absolutely insane.
Yeah. 257-5396. Let's go to Jeff. Jeff, what's going on? Jeff, are you there, my friend? I believe we lost Jeff.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
Oh, yes, I can hear you now, Jeff. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry about that. Just where the Rapinoe thing is going to end up, and I'm no fan, but she will wind up getting the same endorsement deal for the same amount of dollars at Nike that Kaepernick got.
Which I don't agree with, and that's sad because then you can say to yourself, well, maybe she brought up this stuff for the wrong reasons. I'm not about to say that. Look, Colin Kaepernick wore pig socks, depicting all police officers as pigs. He also wore a Fidel Castro shirt. I do think that Megan Rapinoe is a lot more intelligent than Colin Kaepernick. I never looked at Colin Kaepernick as a very intelligent person.
Right. But I think it's where it's going to go. And then the interesting thing will be how her teammates respond to that. And then really quickly, just quick off topic, last night you were saying, well, why can't Trump lead and say Epstein should be in prison for the rest of his life? You understand if he does that, he's handing Epstein's lawyers that he'll never get a fair
All right, well, I'm going to answer that. Jeff, I am going to address that coming up in the next segment because I have some very strong opinions on that, and I appreciate the call. Thank you very much. 257-5396. Let's go to Betty. Betty, what's going on?
Hey, Betty.
Hi, I just called in to ask you a question because
Sure.
you made a statement that you didn't like President Trump.
I don't.
And I just wanted to ask you a couple of questions and because I don't quite understand that. There's a move globally to have a one world government. You know that, right?
Yeah. What do you not understand about me not liking Trump, though? Do I need to explain that to you?
Because he is the only president we've had since Reagan who has said he will not bow down to that, and he will fight against globalism and keep our country sovereign.
Okay, well,
I don't understand.
I'll explain it to you since you don't understand. And it has nothing to do with globalism. Okay, it has everything to do with the way he treats people. I'll give you a few quick examples. Going after John McCain, a war hero, saying he doesn't respect him because he was captured. Calling illegals that come into this country rapists and bad people, and I suppose some of them are good people. The lies, the daily lies. He embarrasses this country, going on a world stage with Kim Jong-un and Vladimir Putin, kissing their ass, lying. Not taking our own CIA's evidence and advice and taking Kim Jong-un's word for it, Vladimir Putin's word for it. He attacks every single person that disagrees with him, and he embarrasses this country on a world stage. Betty, those are the reasons why I dislike the president. I think you can be I think you could be a good human being and also have good policy. So the excuse I get from right-wingers that say, well, I don't care for the rhetoric, but the economy's great. No, you should have both. This is the highest job in the land. Betty, that is the best way I could answer that question.
Well, I don't say that I don't agree with you as far as saying that it's the number one job in the whole world and that he has to be respectable. And he does say things sometimes, but I almost think he does it to bait people. He is a totally different breed of cat that we've never had before.
Hold on a second. You just answered
wait a minute. If he can attain to stop globalism and keep our country sovereign and keep this country America and not a one world government, as remember Mr. Obama saying that he's a global citizen. President Trump is an American citizen, as I am.
And so is Barack Obama. And so is Barack Obama. What are you talking about? Do you believe Donald Trump for 5 years when he said Barack Obama wasn't born in this country? That was a lie. And I think maybe some racism involved there. I absolutely think so. Betty, Barack Obama is an American. With all due respect, what are you talking about?
I'm talking about a man who is standing up against globalists.
I understand that, but you just brought up Barack Obama and made the case that Trump is an American.
Barack Obama said in one of his speeches, I am a citizen of the globe. And you can Google that.
But he's an American. But Betty, he's an American citizen. What does it matter? What does that matter to you?
Because he was saying that he is a citizen of the globe.
Okay, so let me get this right.
Not an American.
Okay, so let me get this straight here. You dislike Barack Obama because he made a comment that he's a citizen of the globe. And by the way, I understand.
No, that's not why I dislike him.
Okay, well, you brought that up, okay? And you don't have a problem. Yeah. And then Donald Trump because of globalism, but all those other things that I mentioned, you don't have a problem with that. That's okay.
It's not whether I have a problem with them or not. It's just about where they sit in order. What is the most important thing to this country right now is to remain a sovereign nation and to live under our Constitution.
All right. Betty, I respect your opinion.
Betty, are you referring to the Rothschilds and the Federal Reserve System and the banking, or what do you mean by that exactly? A one world currency, or what are you worried about?
I'm worried about a one world government. I think AOC came out with her Green New Deal, and the United Nations had the Green New Deal.
Ocasio-Cortez.
That thing is going to cost every American citizen about $2 million. That's not going to happen.
Betty, with all due respect, you're worried about the wrong things. I don't understand why Republicans keep talking about Ocasio-Cortez. She's a freshman in Congress. She's never done anything. Hopefully she will accomplish some things, but she hasn't accomplished anything yet. I don't know why people keep bringing her up. She is a freshman. She does not speak for the Democratic Party. One more quick phone call. I got a minute for George. George, go.
Yep, I had to talk about Kim K. She actually doesn't like the president, and she accomplished a lot by going and speaking with him.
I agree.
Which is impressive.
Absolutely.
That in itself is like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And I don't like I don't want to hate anybody, and I'm thinking that we should get over this hate part in regarding the way we all feel about certain people.
Well, we have to listen to others.
It's out of control. It totally is out of control, the hate, and you kind of instigate that. And
whoa! What do you mean I instigate? What does that mean?
Just because I can't stand the guy. Oh my gosh! So everybody.
Excuse me. I don't. Excuse me. That's my opinion, George. You want me to be fake on the radio? Listen to some other shows.
No, I don't want you to be fake.
Okay, I don't like Donald Trump. That doesn't mean I wouldn't have a conversation with him because I disagree with him. I think he's a bad guy. I'm not going to sit here, George, and lie to you. I'm not going to lie on the radio.
And all the truth, all the things that came out of Barack Obama's mouth was
Barack Obama's not the president. Do you have any idea what my thoughts are on Barack Obama? Did you listen to my radio show when Barack Obama was president? You have no idea what my opinions are on George. I think you're the one spreading hate, with all due respect. You're making assumptions about me, and you have no idea what you're talking about.
Well, I got the hair on the back of your neck, Stan.
No, you're the instigator. Bye, George. You're the instigator.
Hey, George, great call.
Yeah, if you want to hear people be fake on the radio, then go listen to another show. I'm always going to tell you how I feel. I'm going to speak the truth. That's not instigating. I call things out as it is, and we got to take a break.
Sometimes keeping it real does go wrong on the Vegas Take. Sometimes.
I don't know. I disagree with that. Anyway, we got to take a quick break. We got more callers on the line. Ray, David, Denise, Mike. We'll get to all your calls when we come back at 257-5396. Continue this conversation on the other side. You are listening to the Vegas Take. All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. So glad you could join us. I sounded a little bit like an auctioneer there. Welcome back. Welcome back and welcome. It's the Vegas Take. Welcome back. Boy, I'm glad I don't talk like that. What you see is what you get. What you hear is what you get, folks. It's Shappy in the house along with JD Sharp. It's the Vegas Take. We got Mike Lavinati coming up in hour number 2, and he will take some phone calls, too. So a lot to get to with him. We're going to get to this Alex Acosta nonsense coming up here in a few minutes. We're talking about Megan Rapinoe, and I do believe she's made some mistakes, equal pay for women. And we got several people who have been waiting on hold at 257-5396, so I want to get to them. And let's start off with Ray, who's been waiting very patiently on hold. Ray, thanks for calling in. What's on your mind?
Hey, Ray.
Yeah, hey, Brian. Hey, guys. Hey, first off, and very respectfully, I'd like to say that I probably disagree with you about 3/4 of the time, but any time I have the chance to, I listen to the show, and I really enjoy it.
I appreciate that, Ray. That means a lot. It really does. Thank you. Check's coming in the mail, my friend. It'll be a small check, but it's coming in the mail. Yes.
That's right.
So what do you think about this, Ray?
Well, what I wanted to talk about was the equal pay for equal
for women.
For women and men.
Yep.
Okay. I've worked for a number of major Wall Street firms and in various executive positions. And there have been a number of times when we'd be in a meeting, we'd be sitting around the boardroom table, and somebody would jokingly say, if somebody came in here with a discrimination lawsuit, they could win so easily because it was all white men sitting around the table.
Right.
Okay. But that was never on purpose. There were usually almost no women, no blacks, no Hispanics, no people of color. But we didn't try to do that on purpose. It just seemed like nobody ever applied for the jobs. And when people did apply for the jobs, women or so forth, we would almost bend over backwards to include them in projects or committees.
And I think, and I listen, I believe you, right? First of all, my first question is, have you ever get any stock tips to Phil Mickelson? That was my first question. I wish
I had him.
No, but Ray, I think there's a lot of different reasons for that. I think, and I believe you with that sort of stuff. I think in a lot of companies that's the case. I think sadly, but there are plenty of minorities out there that there are plenty of minorities out there that are born into poverty. Unfortunately, that's just not in all cases, but I'm saying when you look at some of the poorest places, right, JD, in the country, it's a mix of a lot of people. And you look at some of the wealthiest places.
And it's a crazy cycle, too, perpetuated by the government.
And I think that's
government assistance creates this cycle.
Right.
Ray, I have a question for you. Do you liken sports wagering to the stock market?
No, not really.
All right.
Not really.
That was a quick answer.
The stock market, the stock market over the long term will be rational. Over the short term, it'll be irrational. But over the long term, if the company has a good product and a good management team and makes money, it'll go up. The stock price will go up.
Ray, I'm glad. I just wanted to say, Ray, I'm glad you called in with that because I think it's important to know that not just because a company is predominantly white doesn't mean that there's racism involved. Doesn't mean that they don't want to hire minorities. So, Ray, I'm glad you called in with that story, my friend. Thank you very much. Good to hear from you. 257-5396. 257-5396. Let's go to Mike. Mike, what's going on?
Good evening, Brian and JD. How are you guys doing?
Doing good, my friend. What's up?
Well, I've got some food for thought here. I predict Megan Rapinoe will become the next U.S. Congresswoman in washing scum.
Well, you know what? I was just thinking about that, Mike, to be honest with you. I was just thinking about that before you called in. I said, you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if she got into politics. I don't know if she will or not. But certainly she would probably have the votes from a lot of women, a lot of Democrats. I think she's making a very big mistake with the way she's handling this Trump stuff. I can't stand Donald Trump, but I think it's an opportunity where she could sit with him and talk with him about some of the issues that she disagrees with him on.
She would have no chance in any other state besides California or New York.
Well,
no chance.
Listen, I don't know, but
what about Oregon and Washington?
Well, maybe Oregon, yeah.
I think, Mike, she would have a chance to win, certainly in 2020. Can you imagine if she wins the gold medal in the Olympics, how popular she will be?
I guarantee you she's going to be a congresswoman or maybe even a senator. But
wouldn't
I've got
shock.
Two more quick things here, Brian, JD.
Yep.
In my opinion, our agencies are infested with traitors. We've had 10,000 FBI guys were mute on the dossier and the FISA warrant. And why? This is a compounded question. Why didn't the Secret Service, NSA, CIA, FBI stop Epstein? The Secret Service gave him a free pass on those jets with Clinton. And why?
I think there's an easy answer. Do you want the short answer, Mike? Because I'm glad you brought that up because we were going to talk about that next. The short answer, money. What does money equal? Power. This man is a billionaire. He was hanging out with everyone in power. The Clintons, Donald Trump.
And bringing somebody down like that, it kind of implicates Bill Clinton and people who are in that really huge position.
I think you guys were about ready for a watershed here on the corruption of the United States. I'm telling you, the last 40 years have been hell on this country.
Alex, what do you think should happen to Alex Acosta? I think he should be fired immediately. He's a disgrace.
Well, I told you yesterday, absolutely. If he makes 10 working days, I'm going to be pissed off because that guy's got to go. Nobody's talking about the victims. I want to see a flood of victims on the media right now.
Did you see the woman who did an interview? I'm forgetting her name. Good Morning America, who said she was raped by this man when she was 14 years old. And I tell you what, man, I got emotional watching it. And the reason why is when she started crying and then she said she feels so much guilt because she didn't come forward sooner. And because of that, more women were raped. Did you watch that, Mike?
Yes, I did. And also she said she recruited girls.
Yeah, it's so horrible.
It's kind of the same thing that happened with R. Kelly. Yeah, I saw one. I saw one where
I'm telling you, Hollywood. I'm really thinking that Senator McCarthy was right. But hey, Brian and JD, I love you listening to your show.
Thank you, Mike.
Opposite view. I do agree with you on some things, but I think KDWN needs to equalize your leftist opinions with the inclusion of a local conservative call-in show like maybe the Steve Sanchez show next to yours, so and maybe even you guys can debate. That would be awesome. I'll tell you, your ratings would go through the roof.
Well, Mike, I appreciate that, and I always welcome. We've had Danny Tarkanian on, we've had Amy Tarkanian on. We welcome Republicans to come on the show at any time. I'm glad to. And by the way, JD, by no means, shape, or form is a Democrat or on the left. Isn't that right, JD?
Leftist is probably the furthest thing you could describe me as at this point.
You know what? We appreciate that, and we always welcome Republicans.
You know what? I saw a story today. And one of the girls said that she almost felt obligated, like it was something that she had to do by sleeping with this guy.
Yeah, well, I can understand why certain women feel that, especially young girls.
The expectation was since he showered her with all these very nice things, private jets, etc.
She's 14, 15, 16 years old.
The expectations that she had to have sex with this 50, 55-year-old man.
I'm telling you, man, I wish this guy would be chained up. Hold on. I wish this guy would be chained up to a tree, and every single, well, now they're women, the girls that he took pictures of, that he would beat the crap out of this guy. I'm telling you, that's what I want.
And he mentioned Hollywood. This is very similar to Harvey Weinstein, Bryan Singer. I mean, this
absolutely.
Stuff, there's a good chance this has been occurring all over the country at the highest levels.
Oh, no doubt. These are just some of the stories that we actually have heard. Imagine all the ones we haven't. 257-5396. Go to Denise. Denise, what's going on?
Hi, how are you? Thank you for taking my call.
Sure.
A lot of good discussions. I wish I could talk about all of them, but I'm calling about Megan and equal pay.
Sure.
So first of all, from a professional sports perspective, I could talk about that because I had a lot of friends that played on the pro tour in the men's and the women's. For
Which tour?
Tennis.
Okay. Yep.
And so on the men's side, the men play 3 out of 5 sets. That's
Correct.
3 out of 5. The women play 2 out of 3.
In majors, correct. In majors.
So, I mean, equal pay there, well, first of all, that wouldn't be right.
Right.
And second, most importantly, all the fans, the majority of the fans don't watch women's tennis. They watch men's tennis.
I think at well, let me respond to that. You are right, except for at the highest level. Serena Williams is a huge draw. Huge.
I would agree. Venus and a couple of the players that are up and coming, right? But
I would say Serena and Nadal are on the same level.
I mean, but that normally happens in the later rounds. In the earlier rounds, people don't show up.
I tend to agree with you, yes.
Federer,
yes.
If you get a Federer or a Djokovic,
absolutely.
I mean, people are going to show up on the first round even when they're playing no names.
I agree. I agree. And I think there's about 10 men.
Hey, so Denise, there's something you don't know about Brian Shapiro, but he is probably the top in-game tennis bettor in Las Vegas right now.
I don't know if Denise knows what that means, but
he is an amazing tennis wagerer.
Yeah, Denise thinks you're talking about playing, and I'm not a bad player. Denise, I know you have no idea what he's talking about. He's talking about gambling, but that's okay. Go ahead, Denise.
Okay, so I mean, so that's the point about sports and the fact that equal pay. But from a corporate perspective, I could also talk about that because I was in the corporate world for 40, close to 40 years.
What did you do, Denise?
And I ended up being an energy consultant. So I worked
That's
worldwide.
a good job.
Well, I'll tell you what, I need your help then because, lately I'm getting older. I have no energy, so I certainly need an energy consultant.
No, it was.
I think he needs a thyroid doctor.
I'm just kidding, Denise. Go ahead.
From a perspective of men getting paid twice the salary that I was getting paid.
And that's not right, Denise. That's not right.
And it was because when I finally realized it, I finally started standing up for myself. And I knew that I was in the same job, either a director or a high-level, vice president job. And I knew what they were getting paid because, I had access to that kind of data.
Good for you.
And I would demand it. So when I got job offers, I would ask for those salaries.
Yeah.
And we're talking, half to sometimes a third more or half more or 2/3 more. I mean, it was ridiculous. And sooner or later, more women were speaking up. And I had a lot of friends that actually became CEOs.
Can I ask you a question, Denise? And by the way, I'm sorry to cut you off.
Of major corporations. And
Denise,
they did the same thing. They would demand it.
Denise, let me
go in and say, I want that same salary.
Denise, let me, and by the way, I appreciate that story, and I'm glad that you are a strong woman that stood up for yourself. But I want to ask you one more question before I let you go. Do you agree with me that Megan Rapinoe is losing an opportunity when
Absolutely.
And she needs to go to Washington, and even if it's not the president, talk to politicians that disagree with her. She said on CNN last night she wants to talk to people that agree with her. What good is that going to do?
Absolutely. And you know what's really sad about this? The new generation, and I'm not that old, but really I could talk about it from experience on that end. They don't want to debate anymore.
Right.
It's like if you don't
They
agree
want to
with
attack
them,
and then
shut you
hide.
down. And I have a lot of opinions on things, and you know you get shut down immediately. And it's really
Denise,
sad.
you are so right, Denise, and I am so glad you called. Thank you so much for the call. I appreciate it. Yeah,
Great call, Denise.
Good to hear from you, Denise, and we love you to call back again.
She makes a good point.
Yeah,
women's sets there's only 3 sets. Men's sets there's 5.
To me, that's academic.
Well, because of the ratings, because of the TV ratings. If it goes 5 rounds, there's going to be much more advertising and commercials played.
5 sets you're talking about. There's a reason.
Exactly.
There's a reason
5
why.
sets.
Because women, the physicality of the game, women would not be able to play 3 out of 5 sets.
And that's fine,
number one.
But,
Hold on.
But the fact that there's 2 more sets, there's that many more advertisements.
But that's fair.
And hence a bigger TV
That's
deal.
fair, but even more
and then hence a bigger purse.
That's fair, but even more important than the advertisers are people that pay money for the tickets.
Right, all
and
that.
it just doesn't compare to the men.
And concessions, et cetera, et cetera.
257-5396. Let's go to Brad. Brad, what's going on?
Oh, hey, thanks for taking my call. Love your show. Your show's amazing. Thanks
Appreciate
for having
that.
Michael back on again as well.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So something that's pretty clear and should be obvious to everyone by now, to be successful, or at least one easy way to be successful in America today, is to publicly attack Donald Trump. And even be more successful is you publicly attack his wife, his kids, and everybody that voted for him.
You're right. It's very cool to disrespect the president.
If you want to work in Hollywood, if you want to be a late-night comedian, if you want to work in universities, if you want to sell chicken in airports.
But to be
I could
fair,
go on and on and on and
but
on,
to be fair, hold on,
if
Brad.
you support Trump, they will boycott your product.
Which is wrong.
If you're with Trump, then you get $150 million like Colin, and then this girl, she's going for the same thing. I don't blame her.
And Brad, here's the crazy thing. I support Trump from a financial standpoint. I think he's a good businessman, a good leader. I like the fact that he does what he says he's going to do. I'm not a huge fan of his rhetoric. But despite the fact that I only support Trump for one side of what he does, people will still discriminate against me for that. People will still hate me for that.
Look,
exactly.
Which is crazy.
But, forget about supporting. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Brad, listen, and I understand where JD's coming from, and I understand where you're coming from, but I will also go on the other side of things and say Donald Trump does the same thing to people that disagree with him. He just does. He attacks anyone and everyone that disagrees with him. Look,
but there are fortunes being made off of hating Donald Trump. You can't work in Silicon Valley.
I agree.
Donald Trump and his family.
Listen, I don't disagree.
Even as kind of a funny joke, I'll just make a joke. UNLV, they play a drinking game and listen to your show, and every time you say Trump, they take a drink.
Is that right?
Is that real life?
That's funny. Well, listen, Brad, I'm going to tell you, okay? Can I
make a comment about betting?
Yeah, quickly, let me just respond to Trump, and then I will let you do that.
Go ahead.
The reason, listen, Donald Trump gives us something to talk about every day. That's for sure. Look, we'd have other things to talk about, but he always gives us topics to discuss.
He is a very content-friendly president.
With that being said, I don't bring up Donald Trump and the fact that I despise the man. I think he's a really bad guy, and I've called him a scumbag before on the air. I don't say that to become popular. I don't say anything on the radio to become popular. I say it because I mean it, Brad. I just think Donald Trump is a really bad guy. Now, with that being said, with some of these celebrities that have huge platforms, for example, Megan Rapinoe, my point is you can say you hate the guy. You can say all that stuff, but if you really want to get something done and you really care about the issues that you're talking about, then you need to meet with people and talk to people that disagree with you.
But
and the fact she's not doing that is not good.
And you can't assume that someone who likes his policies hates you.
And I've said the same thing about Colin Kaepernick, though. I've said, look, how many politicians has Colin Kaepernick had deep discussions with? How many law enforcement officials has Colin Kaepernick sat down and spoke to?
Nike advertising executive, Nike CEO.
Is it smart to come out publicly against Trump? Or is it not smart? It's very smart. It's a shrewd business decision on her part. She'll definitely get a contract out of this. There's no question.
And sadly, you're right.
Well, it also matches her appearance, the way she handles herself, her demeanor.
Yeah.
I mean,
Brad,
it all makes sense.
Brad,
the whole narrative makes sense.
Brad, I'm gonna thank you for the phone call. I'm going to say Donald Trump one more time so you could swig that alcohol. 257-5396. Let's go to Brian. Brian will end this. I got about a minute for you, Brian. What's going on?
Hey, Brian.
Well, Mr. Acosta's news conference today, press conference, he did precisely what I said he would do last night. And I would like to ask you, did you watch the whole press conference?
Yes, I did. I watched the whole thing live.
1 hour.
I did. I watched the whole thing live.
Every question that was put to him, and he did so concisely. He went through every aspect of the case from beginning.
Yeah, but he also lied. But he also lied. He lied, Brian.
Let me tell you one thing he accomplished. Because of what he did there in that case, Epstein will never see the light of day again because he is now a registered sex offender. He has had to pay restitution.
Tell that to the women. Tell that to the women he's raped over a decade. Tell that to the women.
I want these women to come forward, just like Acosta said, because now they will be heard, and now they will get their due.
Here's why he lied, Brian. Brian, he lied.
By the Florida people.
Brian, here's why he lied, okay? He claimed that
He did not lie.
Yes, he did. He met with...
He did not.
Yes, he
Okay,
did. And
tell me where he
Epstein,
lied.
he met with Epstein's attorneys, and that's where they came up with that sweet deal, and he claimed that the plea deal was already in place before he met with those attorneys. That is a complete and total lie, and there are documents to prove it. Yes, it was. Yes, he did.
That's total.
That is exactly what he is claiming. Well, I'm sorry. You watched a different press conference than me, Brian, with all due respect. Okay? Look it up. He met with Epstein's attorneys in a hotel room, by the way, when they came up with this sweet deal. And he's claiming that that deal was put in place before he met with those attorneys. That is an outright lie. And Donald Trump had a conversation with him on the phone yesterday telling him that you need to go on the offense like Trump always does when he lies. Go on the offense and play the victim. He was blaming everybody else but himself. I watched the press conference, Brian. Acosta blamed everybody else but himself. It's nonsense. We'll ask Michael Avenatti next what he thinks about this. He's coming up next right here on the Vegas Take. Stay tuned. We'll be right back after this.